everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. Today we're doing a box office preview for this upcoming weekend, which sees an Apple original film, Argylle, a $200 million budgeted film, expected to have a pretty awful opening weekend, just looking at the domestic numbers of only about $20 million. $20 million opening based off of a $200 million budget. That is abysmal. Also, especially with all of the reviews for the film coming out, especially for people like Jeremy Jahns, who have just eviscerated the film as kind of being this false presentation. If you look at the poster, Henry Cavill is very clearly being the focus of that movie poster, and apparently he's barely in the movie whatsoever. Now, obviously, if you've seen the trailer, you know that there's a lot more to the film than just Henry Cavill's character, but again, false advertising can only ever get you so far, and it's looking like there's no one going to see this film this upcoming weekend. So before going any further, though, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button, honestly, smash the rumble button as well, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with that bell notification. That way you know every time your video or live stream goes live on the channel. So Tony over at Deadline, good old Tony, he has the news for us right now saying Apple Original Films' third movie to go wide in theaters, the $200 million budgeted Matthew Vaughn-directed Argylle, hits cinemas this weekend via a distribution deal with Universal. A mid-teens start is expected. So it sounds like this is, again, being produced by Apple, being distributed by Universal, which means Apple, at the end of the day, is going to be left on the chain for those production costs and those marketing costs, things like that. And so it looks like, yeah, they're probably going to yet again eat another massive loss. And it kind of just makes you ask the question, why are they continuing to pour hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into these movies that are mostly just going to be featured on their streaming service and then put them out in theaters where they do next to nothing? Again, I just don't quite understand the marketing tactic here. One could say they're trying to get more eyes to their streaming service by, obviously having their logo at the very beginning of their film and things like that. But when you're putting all this money in and you're not getting anything really in return, and it's obviously very hard for us to actually be able to quantify how many new members do you actually get for a movie on your platform, how many members do you actually keep on your platform because of a given movie. It's hard to say, but what we can say absolutely is that a $200 million budget versus this opening is abysmal. As the old saying goes in distribution, it would be nice if it had a 2 in front of it, meaning a $20 million start. Now, the issue, of course, is that, just like with the usual box office analysis, Tony is trying to act as if this is somehow a good thing or a good sign, right? Saying that he hopes that Argylle hopes to tee up the February box office, but ultimately $20 million is nothing when you have that type of actual start. Some exhibitors are bullish that the all-star movie with Henry Cavill could reach past that threshold, but it hits screens amid a truly downer box office atmosphere likely to last until Legendary's Dune Part 2 shows up March 1st. I think that that's probably going to be accurate, and though I do think that the Dune Part 2 opening weekend will probably be quite bigger than what we're going to see from films like Argylle, I also am not exactly sure or confident that necessarily that's going to be a massive moneymaker either, especially if you go back to the original film. When you go back just to the fact that Dune itself is a very niche property, it's really hard to tell. But we, of course, will have to wait and see the closer that we actually get to that. For Argylle, a 50-50 male-female turnout is expected, with slightly older women at 33,500 screens. Obviously, they were going for that, with Henry Cavill being kind of featured there. It will also open in 79 offshore territories, including UK, Ireland, Australia, France. So what that means is that when we get these numbers for this upcoming weekend, both the domestic and international, we're going to be able to track this thing very accurately and therefore project whether or not this film is going to make any money or not by pretty much the end of its opening weekend. The old adage is that most films tend to make about another 3 times. So you take their opening weekend worldwide, multiply that by 3, and that's normally where films end up on average. Of course, if films have tremendous drop-off, then we see a lot less than that. If we see films have stronger legs, it could do more, but we're going to have a pretty good idea. So if it's only making $20 million and a film at $200 million means it has to make roughly $500 to $600 million to actually break even, yeah, right now it's not looking like that's going to be in the cards. Unless there's a massive amount of money that's going to be coming in from those international markets, it's not going to be looking good. And also, if a huge portion is coming from those international markets, as I mentioned in previous videos, having that much lower return on investment from international markets is meaning essentially we could pretty much say that this film is guaranteed to be a flop at this point. It says previews in the United States and Canada start for the PG-13 rated Argylle on Thursday at 5 p.m. I'm told that the comps are Paramount's Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum romantic comedy Lost City, as well as the first two Vaughn Kingsman movies at 36.2 and 39 million each. But gosh, those numbers will be too high to reach. Yes, thank you at least for being honest about that. Somehow Argylle feels like 2022's The 355, which starred Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Penelope Cruz, a $75 million title that Universal took domestic for $20 million. And yeah, that film was also itself a flop, especially with how little money they put into it. The film just did not make money. People have no interest in seeing those kinds of movies. And though the general premise of what Argylle is might have been interesting, I think also you have a lot smarter audiences now who are a lot more careful with their money. And so when you're waiting for maybe people like Jeremy Jahns to come out with reviews, or you're actually reading reviews in general and actually maybe going a little bit deeper into it, finding more about the source material and more about where the film's going to end up, how long is it going to be until it gets on to streaming services, having a movie where you're just false advertising that Henry Cavill's a feature in this movie when he's barely in it is not going to be able to bring people out as much. Now, we don't have any updated numbers from Box Office Pro as of the recording of this video, but the last update that they had as early as 1/25/24, so just about a week ago, was they were expecting it to make $20 to $30 million in its domestic opening, with an all-round domestic total between 65 and 95. Based on the fact that you have Deadline talking about 20 million, I suspect that this is probably going to drop from 15 to 25 million in their projections, maybe. And let's just say the chances of getting to $100 million domestic based off of these numbers is not looking very good. And so, of course, we will be continuing to cover this to see exactly what happens. We don't have any updates on what the other films are going to be doing at this point in time. I think that's probably one of the reasons why is because the box office has just been so slow. So a lot of the box office people covering these things haven't been updating these numbers nearly as much as they often do. And I'll go ahead and just refresh this one more time. And yeah, still nothing here. So what my guess is that since we do have a new film, we might end up seeing maybe some stronger drops, some higher drops for some of the other films that came out last weekend. So talking about, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, films like ISS, Book of Clarence, Beekeeper, finally having some drops off potentially. But again, it's hard to say. Beekeeper has definitely been performing well above its weight. As you can see, according to actual just general standard, general standard break-even points, this film has broken even, has made some profit. But as I've mentioned, we still don't have confirmation yet on exactly what this budget is. And we'll go ahead and just, again, check one more time. As I've mentioned previously, the only number anyone can find is from a random site in India that cannot actually be trusted. As you can see, there's no reporting right now as far as what this film actually cost to make. And so I think that we have to take that as it is. You have to be able to, kind of, again, we'll do this live just to show y'all again what I mean by this. So if you put in the Beekeeper budget, right, notice that says Beekeeper is estimated to be made for a budget of $40 million. This is from Koimoy, because Koimoy is just so well known for its legitimacy. The big one that people have mentioned, because the first one that ever talked about it was this random website, boxofficebudget.com. And if you pull this up, you can hopefully see, Akash Kumar. And all of its promotions are for Bollywood Indian movies. So this is the source that people are trying to use to say the film only cost $34 million or so. And so hopefully now you get a better understanding as to why I am not running with that and why I don't think that is probably accurate, especially when you keep in mind that these studios, Apple and Amazon, are spending a lot more on these movies than what you typically see from a lot of the usual fare. You look at a film like Air, for instance, which cost, what was that, $100 million budget film for that movie? Let me see if I could do a quick search on that just to double check. So the film Air right here is number 85. Yeah, we love doing these things live here. So that film, it cost $90 million, so very close there. $90 million for a film like Air, and you look at a movie like that, you think that movie should have been easily made for a lot less than that. I mean, so you think about the star power in the movie, thinking that might take up part of the cost, but that film also ended up being a flop. It did not make money at the box office. And so even though I've heard a lot of good things about the film, ultimately because they overspend on these projects, right, whether it's Amazon or Apple, a lot of that ends up, kind of leaving them in those financial losses. But those are the numbers as they currently stand. What are y'all's thoughts? Do you think that Argylle is going to be any good? Do you think Argylle is going to surprise everyone at the box office and make a lot of money? It's really hard to say at this point. I'm going to be in MegaCon in Orlando this weekend, so if you're going to be there, please let me know in the comment section down below, especially that pinned comment, as I make my way down there tomorrow. So I'm not going to be until late tomorrow night. I'll be there all day Saturday, and then I'll be heading out pretty early on Sunday. A very, very quick trip, but I cannot wait to see everyone down there at MegaCon MegaCon, and also just hang out with Geeks Gamers, Friday Night Tights crew as well, and have a good time. So again, let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button, obviously press the rumble button as well. Also check out my articles over at geeksandgamers.com. I just put out my top 10 list over there on Geeks and Gamers. So if you don't want to watch the live stream video I did just this past Tuesday, you can check that out at Geeks and Gamers, and you can let me know your thoughts in the comments over there as well. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a very special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off with my Patreon Chosen members, Father Luca Illich, shout out to you, Father. Rosetta Allen, check out her YouTube channel, Eagle Rider. And Miss Martin Muses, check out her YouTube channel by the same name. And to my Subscribe Star peeps, Matt317, check out his Twitch channel by the same name. Mr. Roy and ZK-Man, check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, or if you want access to a giveaways channel on my Discord and plenty of other extra content as well, random crazy stuff out there, check out the YouTube memberships and other membership platforms in the top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.